And we've seen a lot of things when it comes to Caitlin Clark. We've seen a lot of like workout videos. We've seen her working on different parts of her game. But one thing, again, that has not gone unnoticed is how much Caitlin Clark is...
Did you anticipate this? We all knew that Caitlin Clark, the college basketball sensation who swept the globe, had the ability, range, and confidence to dominate the WNBA. But what if I told you that she's more than simply a shooter?
Bulked up during the season and how much she has bulked up. Like, this is how skinny she was going into her senior year. Like, Caitlin Clark was unbelievably skinny. And that was a problem, even to start her WNBA career.
What does this imply for the league? Clark has entirely changed her body, and this new video shows that she's poised to take over. Remember how the defenders could push her around? Now, she's stronger, faster, and more dangerous than ever. Hold on tight, because we're going to dissect everything. Due to her limitless range, Caitlin Clark has consistently caused issues for defenders. Even before she set foot on a WNBA court, her quick release...
Getting bullied. She was genuinely out there, especially in her first couple of weeks in the WNBA. Caitlin Clark was getting bullied. And she genuinely, like, she was getting bigger and bigger as the season came on, as far as, like, just, like, her, just muscle size was concerned. And again, the annoying thing is, like, it's hard to find pictures on the court.
And amazing court vision made her a nightmare to guard. However, despite her talent, there was always the question of whether she could handle the physicality of the WNBA when she made the move from college to the pros. We saw glimmers of her potential, but let's face it, there were times when she struggled because the league was more difficult. Some even began to question whether Clark's domination at Iowa would translate to the highest level of competition, because the defenders were bigger and stronger, and she wasn't receiving the same amount of...
How much bigger her arms had gotten. This is later on in the season. Like, it's not like Caitlin Clark's not still skinny, but, like, she very much bulked up. Like, and she was in the gym in the...
...base as she had in college. However, what if, as I mentioned earlier, she took those difficulties personally, and, rather than relying solely on her shooting, went back to the drawing board to completely change her body?
But just looking at pictures of her now, and like if you see even at the game yesterday, they kind of went to her, and it's like, okay, like you would not call Caitlin Clark skinny, and it reminds me a little bit, like she's not bulked up too much, but it reminds me a little bit of like
if you body and playing style in Game 4. Let me tell you, the WNBA is not prepared for this new Caitlin Clark in Game 5. Her early WNBA games show what was preventing her from succeeding. She was undoubtedly skilled, but when she attempted to drive bigger, she was banged around far, too readily. Even though she was putting up good numbers, she wasn't the dominant force she was in college, and when she played defense, stronger opponents were backing her down with little resistance. However, Clark is different from most players in that she didn't make excuses. Instead, she identified what was lacking from her game and took action. She entered full-on training mode during the previous offseason, committing to becoming stronger, tougher, and more physically fit, as her coach Stephanie White attested to. Clark has put on a lot of muscle, and it's not just for show. Every ounce of muscle she's added has been done so for a reason. She's not just getting stronger, she's making sure that strength translates to her game. Let's take a moment to discuss her new physique, which is visible in the video. Her arms are bigger, her shoulders are broader, she's carrying herself with a different level of confidence. This isn't the same. Caitlin Clark we saw getting bumped around last season. This is a player who looks built for the grind of the WNBA, and that's where things get scary for the rest of the league. Because if you thought Clark was dangerous before, wait until you see her now with her added strength. One of the biggest changes in her game is how she attacks the basket before. Defenders could body her up and force her into tough off-balance shots. Now, not so much. Clark isn't just absorbing contact. She's initiating it. She's driving with power, using her body to shield the ball and finishing through defenders when she gets to the rim. She's not getting knocked off her path anymore. She's holding her ground, keeping her balance, and scoring with authority. And that's just the beginning. Her newfound strength is also unlocking a part of her game that we haven't seen much of before the post-up. Clark has always been known for her outside shooting, but now that she has more muscle, she is beginning to exploit paint mismatches if a smaller guard is on her. Instead of just settling for a deep three, she is backing them down by using her strength to create space and get easy buckets inside. Just think of the nightmare scenario for defenses, who already have to respect her shooting from way beyond. The arc, now having to worry about her being a threat in the post. However, her playmaking is also benefited from her increased strength. Although Clark has always been a superb passer, she can now hold off defenders for longer, which gives her even more time to make plays. She is also able to set up teammates and create passing lanes with her body in ways that were previously impossible, not to mention her defense. Early in her career, Clark was criticized for not being a good defender. She had the reflexes and the effort, but she lacked the physicality to continuously keep ahead of her opponent. Now that she has stronger muscles, she is holding her own against stronger opponents. Gamers. Instead of being a burden on defense, she is now an asset. And this is only the beginning. She is fighting through screens, remaining in front of her assignments, and making life difficult for opponents. The rest of the league should be concerned because Caitlin Clark isn't just changing, she's redefining what it means to be a star in the WNBA. Her new strength, along with her natural talent and unwavering work ethic, is positioning her to be one of the most dominant players the league has ever seen, and she's only just getting started. Clark is only in her second year in the league, but she's already made huge strides, but she's far from her peak. Let's discuss what this means for the Indiana Fever. They had glimpses of promise the previous season, but they weren't quite prepared to play at the highest level. The team was still figuring out how to make the most of Clark's skill set, but with her improved physicality, the Fever will be a completely different team this season. They will be more aggressive, competitive, and dangerous, and the defenses that were able to bully Clark last season will need to come up with a new plan because that won't work anymore. Additionally, let's talk about her stats for a second expert. It's not simply good to forecast that Clark will average double figures in points and assists this season. That's extraordinary. If she continues to put up those kinds of stats, she may be a strong MVP contender in just her second season. Consider the implications for the league's future. What's next for Caitlin Clark? Will she dominate the league this season, lead the team to the playoffs, and win MVP? She's not just enhancing her own game, she's also setting a new standard for what it means to be a WNBA star. She's demonstrating that talent alone isn't enough and that you have to be willing to put in the work to evolve and push yourself to new heights. There is no doubt that this is only the beginning. Clark's transformation is a game changer, and the rest of the WNBA better be ready, because the days of pushing her around are over. Now she's the one doing the pushing, and that changes everything. If you thought Caitlin Clark was already a force to be reckoned with, buckle up, because what's coming next is going to redefine the way we look at her as a player. We've already talked about how she's transformed her body and added serious strength to her game, but what does this actually mean on a deeper level? What impact will this have on the WNBA, her opponents, and even the future of women's basketball? Let's break it down. First off, let's talk about the mental aspect, ECT, of this transformation. Because let's be real, getting stronger isn't just about hitting the weight room, it's about mindset. When Clark was in college, she dominated with skill confidence and high basketball IQ. She didn't need to be the strongest player on the court because she was often the smartest and most skilled, but the WNBA is a different beast here. Skill alone isn't enough. You have to be physically ready to face some of the world's toughest and most battle-tested players. Clark discovered this the hard way during her rookie season, when she witnessed firsthand how defenders could wear her down, bump her off her spot, and make life difficult for her on both ends of the court. However, rather than letting that deter her, she took it as motivation, realizing that she needed to make adjustments and resolving to do so. That's what makes a great player. Some rookies come into the league, struggle with the physicality, and never fully adapt. They keep relying on the same skills that worked in college, refusing to evolve. But Clark, she's proving that she's different. She's not just getting stronger physically, she's getting stronger mentally. And that's a game changer. Now let's dive into how this transformation is going to affect her actual play on the court. We already touched on her improved ability to finish at the rim. But it's worth emphasizing just how big of a deal this is. Before she had to rely on finesse to score inside. Now she's adding power to her drive. Think about what that does to a defender. If you're guarding Clark, you already have to respect her three-point shot. Because let's face it, she can pull up from anywhere. But now, If you play her too tight on the perimeter, she'll blow by you and take it strong to the hoop. And if you try to bump her on the drive, she's got the strength to fight through it and finish anyway. That's a nightmare scenario for defenses. It forces them to pick their poison. Do they give her space and risk her lighting them up from deep, or do they play her tight and risk getting beaten off the dribble? And it's not just about her own scoring. Her ability to drive stronger also opens up new passing opportunities. One of Clark's strongest attributes as a player is her ability to create